there, my name is Steve Gerhardt, and as always, this is the Unagi Observer. Thank you so much for stopping by, watching the video. This is a labor of love for me, so I am grateful that you're here watching it. Again, thank you so much. So this, we're going to do an anime review, and this one's kind of a little bit different for me because it has an element that I don't think I've really encountered that either that much or at all in all my years of watching anime. So let's get into the review. It is called Let's Go Karaoke. So yeah, let's get started into this. By the way, I forgot to mention there are going to be some spoilers in here, so spoiler alert, you've been warned. Okay, Let's Go Karaoke. For those who know me, know that I enjoy, as a guilty pleasure, romance anime. It doesn't really matter to me if it's straight yaoi or yuri. It's not a big deal to me. I just like the stories, and I like rooting for the characters that I get invested in. And so when I initially started watching Let's Go Karaoke, by the end of episode 1, I was like, is this yaoi? And by the end of episode 2, I'm like going, this might be a yaoi romance. I'm wrong. It's a bromance, like in the true sense of the word. That's what this anime is. There's some creepy elements going on here, but it's basically bromance. And it has a very unique kind of subject matter, or how the plot it works. And for those who also know me, know that I enjoy oddball things. And this falls into that category of something that's oddball you probably don't see that often. And I initially gave it the 3-episode treatment. But what's unique about this particular review is I found out that it was actually 5-episode OVA. And I didn't even know that when I jumped into it. So like I knew nothing about this. I literally went down the Crunchyroll list and go, what am I interested in? What do I want to review? Okay, that one, it looks interesting. I didn't even read the description. I just went clearly off the title. So here we go. So I went in, and then once I found out that it was at the end of episode 3, I was like, I wonder how many episodes this is. And it said 5. I was just like, might as well. And so I finished out so I binge watched it. So before we get into the plot and the review, let's go over some of the particulars, and then we'll get into all that interesting stuff. This is how interesting Let's Go Karaoke is. It started off, of course, as a manga, as you know, many of these are wont to be. It is written by Yama Wayama. Am I saying that correctly? Let me try that again. Yama Wayama. That's probably it. Wayama. So she wrote this as a doujinshi. So this was self-published, and when she went to in 2019, I believe it was it 2019? Yes, 2019. She went to Kamatia, which is a doujinshi convention, and it sold out. It was really popular. A lot of people liked it, and so they actually did a few mail orders after that. She hadn't been picked up by a publisher, and people really liked it, and they couldn't keep up with it, and of printing these things out and sending them out. So it was actually kind of a hard to get manga for a while, and it was sold in, I think, one volume, a 1-volume thing. It was eventually picked up by Interbrain, and they created a collector's edition out of it. So they put the whole thing together and sold it as one unit, so it wasn't parsed out, so to speak. And the imprint is Beam Comics, and the English provider is Yen Press. We didn't get this until 2020, I think. So what's even more interesting is that the anime. By the way, there's a movie, there's a sequel anime to this. There's a lot of stuff going on here. I had not realized that this was a little bit of a franchise. This is encapsulated, by the way, along with Captivated by You, which some people know about. This series came out this past season. In July. The last one, literally episode 5, literally just came up 3 days ago as of this filming this video. So it is talk about, you know, making something and then having a huge success out of it. So in 2019, this woman, who is largely known for her doujinshi, struck gold with this, and moved on. So what is the plot of let's go karaoke? The plot of this is that we have Satomi, who is a last year in his last year of junior high school. He's in the choir. He has a really good voice. He's the leader of the choir, and he's in a competition. And there's this nefarious looking character up in the balcony watching. And as Satomi comes out, he kind of feels bad that his choir didn't get the gold, the first place, and he felt it was because that he was starting to lose his voice, his ability to sing, and he felt that it was on him. So he's a little depressed, and he's walking out, and this guy in a three-piece suit comes out and says, "Hey, you guys did really well. That was really awesome. By the way, you're going to teach me how to sing now. Get in the car." Literally, that's what happens. So, Satomi gets into the car. We learn that the guy's name is Kyoji Narita, and we immediately learn that he is Yakuza. So he drags poor Satomi to a karaoke joint called Karaoke Heaven. And they go into this, and he explains, he goes, "I just need you to give me some pointers, critique. You guys sounded really good in there. And so, please give me some pointers." So he gets up and he does it's horrible, right? Like, he's really bad. And poor Satomi is just like, how do I get out of this? How do I get out of here? So the first episode is very comedic, and we learn in the first episode that basically the point of this is for Kyoji, the Yakuza guy, is that once a year there's a contest in his Yakuza family where where everyone has to go to this bar and they all sing karaoke, and their boss of the family assigns points to each performance, and whoever gets the most points loses, and they become the sucky king of the contest, and the boss puts a tattoo on an inappropriate part, like, somewhere that's like the back of the hand, the forehead, tips of the fingers, whatever. And he's really bad at tattooing. He thinks he's really good, but he isn't. And so that's the fear for everyone who loses. They don't want to get like a really bad tattoo on their forehead, right? So so Kyoji is coming to Satomi and saying, "I don't want this to happen. I don't have to win. I just have to not lose," right? So he gets Satomi to get in there and with him and do the thing and teach him. And by the end of the first episode, I'm kind of laughing a little bit because it is funny, it is comedy. And then we get into the second episode, and I had to actually kind of rewatch parts of the second episode to make sure that I was understanding what I was watching. And this was the point where I was like going, wait, is this a yaoi romance? Is this a gay romance? Because there are elements of attraction between the Yakuza guy and this junior high school kid who's in the choir. And we were starting to see the beginnings of that. But the attraction is from the kid's end of it. So, it's one of those things where it's just like, everyone has had that crush on an older person before, right? So someone who's older than 5 years than you, but kind of, so maybe a little bit more significantly older. So everyone's had that kind of crush. So it seems like this is the end. This is where the anime is going, and I'm like, going, oh, okay, fine. It'll end with him, nothing happening, and him moving on in life and fondly remembering his time with his crush, right? Nope, that's not it. That's not it at all. It is true bromance. So just for those of you who are confused by what's the difference between a bromance and a gay romance, is that the bro romance is basically an intense, two guys having like a more than normal, intense emotional relationship with each other, where affection is more freely given, and it's not just like, hey, we're manly men, but touch is involved. Being sensitive is being involved. Being empathetic is, or having empathy for each other is involved. And there are elements of being considerate, like as if you were in an actual relationship. And so it's literally just like a bromance is like literally, here's the gay romance, here's the bromance, right? It's like it's almost that one step beyond. So what that means is that what we don't get out of the bromance is the actual romantic feeling. So it's everything that you would have, but not the romance. So there's no kissing, there's no sex, there's no, outpouring feelings of "I love you, man," and literally meaning "I love you." So we're not. It's just a level below that. So it's an intense relationship between two guys. The thing that makes it creepy, though, is that Satomi is probably 16 years old, and we learn by the end of episode 3 that Kyoji is 39. So this is the one issue I have. So the idea is that as Kyoji is trying to learn how to be a better singer, Satomi is also gearing up for his very last performance. He knows that puberty is about to hit him, and he knows that he's going to lose that voice, that golden voice, and he knows that part of his life is probably going to be over. So he has one last performance to go through, and as they are doing this, there's comedy. So Kyoji brings his other Yakuza guys come in to karaoke heaven, and poor Satomi has to give them pointers and stuff, and it's quite hilarious, and it's really bad singing, and it's very, very funny. But what is interesting about this series is also that it doesn't shy away from the fact that these guys, as buffoonish as they are when they're singing and trying to do the thing, they are Yakuza, and they are violent, and they are not inherently good people. There's a moment in Kyoji's car when he's driving Satomi home, and he goes, "Oh, hey, can you go into the glove box and pull out a scrap of paper and write down, your notes to me?" And so Satomi opens it up, and there's literally a finger in a Ziploc bag, and Kyoji goes, "There's a finger in there? Oh yeah, it's so and so. He was a junkie, and we had to get rid of him." And he tosses the finger in the back. While that offhand, that is funny, it's a thing. It's a thing, and there is a small amount of violence that happens. There's a point where Satomi foolishly wanders into Yakuza town, basically, and he gets accosted, and Kyoji has to come in and save him at some point. So while there is much of this is lighthearted comedy bromance, they're very realistic about this guy is a Yakuza. He does hurt people, but he doesn't want to hurt Satomi, so that's good. Satomi-kun. He doesn't want to hurt Satomi-kun. So the thing goes, so obviously by the end, there's two things that are happening. It is the Yakuza performance that has to be done, and there is the choir performance that Satomi has to do, and they're both on the same day. So at first you're like, oh, he has to make the choice. It becomes an easy choice because there's a thing that happens at the end of episode 3, and it has to do with Kojomi and Satomi comes in on the actual scene of it, and you're just like, oh crap. So I was confused by that there was 5 episodes, and that was the end of episode 3. Episode 4 happens where we think Kyoji is dead, and episode 5 is 3 years later, and Kyoji is alive. And sorry, that's the spoiler. And Kyoji is alive, and things resume. So that's the plot. That's it. So thoughts on this? The animation is interesting. It's not going to win any awards, but it's good. It's your eyes aren't going to hurt and bleed because it's bad anime. It's good animation. The story is pretty compelling. It's an interesting watch. You will laugh at it. There is comedy. I mean, this is a comedy series, and at the end of it, but there's some seriousness to it. And like I said, my one big issue is the the nature of the age gap in the bromance. And weirdly, the anime actually does address that in the background. So there are notes, like if you watch carefully, you'll see in the background things happening where a thing will be said or there's a sign or whatever, and then Satomi will say something in relation to that. So you're given notes that, like, Satomi is very much aware of the age gap. There's a huge ass gay gap. You know, he's 39, he's 16, and they're both kind of aware of that. The big problem that I have here is that when we get to the end of it, Satomi is of age of consent at this point, right? And Kyoji does make a statement of saying, well, you know, I didn't want to screw up your life any more than I did, you know, that kind of a thing. But the relationship continues, and I'm just like, the big problem here is not so much that Satomi had a crush on Kyoji, and that kind of went through the thing, and Kyoji picked up on it and was just like, okay, fine, but it's not going to go any further. Actually, Kyoji picks up on it and finds that, you know, there is that return of affection, of that bromance, not love, not romance, not that kind of a romance, but a bromance, and that's being returned. But the kid is 16, dude. You're 39. Okay, I don't care if it's a bromance or an actual gay relationship. Dude, huge gap in age, and it's not cool. And to me, and at the end of it, when even though Satomi is old enough to have that age of consent, or at least age of consent in terms of American view, it doesn't feel good to me. It's just kind of like going, okay, this feels a little skeevy, even though it's just a bromance and not an actual gay romance. It just feels almost like, even though it's not, it felt a little bit like grooming. So that is my big thing with this particular anime. I enjoyed this anime very much, except for that one aspect of it. I really just kind of wish that the bromance wasn't as intense as it was, and that Kyoji was more of an adult in treating this in a better way. Satomi is not, to be clear, Satomi is not emotionally abused. He is not physically abused or any of that nonsense. It's just that the interest in each other within this bromance is kind of inappropriate due to the age gap. And I'll just put it that way. So should you see this anime? Like I said, there's a lot that's good in this anime, but that's the one big sticking point, at least for me. If that's something that you can get around, or that's you think is okay, I guess you'll like this anime. It's hard for me to recommend it for that thing. Yeah, it's really hard for me because there's a lot of it that I really enjoyed, that I thought was good, and the writing was good, the storytelling was good. It's just that age gap, man. It that just is what does it for me. And it's not a thing for me. So yeah, unfortunately, I think this falls under the category of I can't really recommend it because of that, but I can say objectively that there were good things about it. Other than that, and I'm upset and I'm sad that that thing was in that was in there to make me say, yeah, I don't think I should recommend this to anybody. So, there you go. All right, so that was the review for Let's Go Karaoke, and I I wish the age gap wasn't so large in this anime so that I could actually recommend it to you, but I just can't do it. I'm sorry, I just can't. The age gap is too big. So anyway, if you happen to like it, cool. Yeah. Sorry, I just can't recommend it. It is a shame because there really is some good stuff in there. Anyway, moving right along. So Anime USA is coming up in October. If you are attending or if you're thinking of attending, both Brent Newhall and I are doing panels. I will be doing 3 panels there. I'm not sure what my schedule is. I'll let you guys know as soon as I find out. Yeah, so I'll be doing, let's see here, anime from the discount bin. So those are going to be odd or forgotten anime that I'm going to be talking about. I'm going to be doing a Kurosawa panel about Kurosawa and Toshiro Mifune and their relationship and the movies they made. So I'll be talking about that. And the other panel will be about Ghost in the Shell second gig OST 2, a very fantastic album that I will be talking about as well. So if you want to show up and come to the panels, awesome. Thank you. Otherwise, you guys stay healthy, be good, and because I want to see you out in the wild, see you at the convention, see you out in the world, and say hello. And if you happen to see me, you want to have a little conversation about anime, I would love to have that conversation with you. So be good, be well, love you guys, and as always, watch more anime.